to you. Good morning to you. We're all in our places with sunshiny faces. This is the way to start a new day.
Good morning to you. Good morning to you. We're all in our places with sunshiny faces. Is this not the way to start a new day?
Good morning, everyone. Oh, look at there. Omar is calling in from Chicago. How are you, Omar? I was just checking LinkedIn. Good morning, everyone, to see if LinkedIn was cooking, and it didn't look like, oh, it is cooking. Okay. I just wasn't sure it was cooking or not. It's cooking now. So, good morning, Omar. So nice of you to be here. I see you're out of your home and you're in the Midwest there. So, welcome this morning to the call. So glad that you're here. And here is Elizabeth, who is calling in from Rhode Island and is laughing, probably at the childish song, right, that I was playing, which is what I started my day with when I was in elementary school. My name is Leslie Flowers, and I am so glad that you're here. Oh, let's see. Omar's on his way to Europe. Okay, I got it. That's fantastic. Oh, I know you're going to see a lot of friends, right? And I know you're really looking forward to this. So, Omar, thank you for being here. And here is Adrian. Yes, whatever. Oh, you were laughing because I was playing that song. Okay, great. Well, come on in, everyone. And if you know how to share this, you can view the event details and click on share and post it on your feed and have people come in. This is a 45-minute training in Napoleon Hill's Principles of Success in Think and Grow Rich. And you're in a really good place today because this is linear, this particular training, although the results are not linear. Okay, so I don't know if you can imagine that, but the way it progresses through the 13 principles step of success starts with the introduction, which isn't even one of the principles. But therein lie three key stories and lessons that help you plant the ideas that are coming to you. So, like any plant, you need to have a seed. That's what this is. And as Napoleon Hill says, and by the way, this is the number 2 bestseller of all time, Think and Grow Rich. And it was written over 100 years ago, second only to the New Testament. Why? Well, because it has the blueprint for success, to be a millionaire, but also to be wealthy, happy, and healthy, which is my mantra. I don't want all that money if I'm not well and I'm not happy. I want all three, and I want you to have all three. That's what's in here. So I have been teaching this for 16 years, 20,000 hours, over 61 business quarters, taken hundreds of people through. And what Napoleon Hill says is one sound idea is all it takes. And that is the truth. One sound idea. And you get them all the time. But we're loaded with fear. And so what this book does, and the work that I do around the principles of success and universal law, leadership, and transformation, is to move you from primarily a fear mindset to one of faith. And our default is fear. That's the first thing we think of is when we failed. And we failed bunches of times, right? But that doesn't mean that the precedent or that the past sets the precedent for the future. But it all has to do with how you're thinking about things. So I'm excited that you're here. And I invite you to try these things on. And I'll run through the first 2 stories in the introduction. And this is the final story. And these are the lessons that really are the nourishment for this seed of an idea, that you always get these. But what, like I said, we're going to learn to create a wealth mindset instead of one of poverty. one of confidence rather than one of being insecure and worried about being criticized. And there are 4 other fears as well. But it's all about how to move from fear to faith as much as you can. So I'm glad you're here. Let's see who else is here. I'm so glad to see everybody this beautiful day. Hi, Islam. Thank you for being here. Islam, so nice of you. So nice to see you here. And Leanna, I am so glad that you're here as well. We need to talk because let's see, you're a registered dietitian, and I don't know what the others are, so we need to talk. Okay. And I'm so excited to see my friend Elizabeth Falloon. She's been off LinkedIn for a bit, and she's back, and so glad you're here, Elizabeth. And Dr. Shakar. Well, isn't this interesting? Yes, many people who are the richest people in the world are corrupted. Absolutely. Welcome to the USA or anywhere you go, I guess. To grow in the highest ladder, people follow corruption. What is my view? Well, that's what this is all about. It's what you do with the idea. And my philosophy, Dr. Shakar, Dr. Shakar, is that we're always looking for the greatness in others, that we're not violating the rights of others. So that is part of what we're infusing the ground with, that we are not going to be, corrupted. So thank you so much for bringing that up. It is a very specific mindset, and it has to be developed. It's the faith mindset. All those folks who are making all that money and they're angry and corrupted, they're not happy. They're just power driven. They're not really happy. And eventually they will get it, probably on their deathbed. Hopefully not. But ultimately, we all get this, that this life is a gift. I heard a funny story this morning, and it was actually on Instagram. And the way the story went was, people are at the pearly gates, so to speak, waiting to be let in by God, right? And so St. Peter comes and says to the gates and is checking people in, and he says, why are you here? Well, I'm dying to get into heaven. No pun intended, right? I want to get into heaven. I can't wait. I've been thinking about it all my life. And he asked the next person, he said, what are you doing here? Oh, well, I'm all about heaven here. I'm all about heaven. And so St. Peter scratches his head and goes back and has a conversation with God and comes back and said, we have a question for you. We created heaven on earth for you already. You were in heaven your whole life. We gave you conscious awareness so that you could take an idea, which is thought energy, and turn it into physical matter. We gave you alchemy, even if you don't know how. You can change ideas into physical form. So we're confused. So I'll leave it right there. So let's see who else is here. Thank you, Dr. Shekar, for that. And good morning, Ashif, who is in Toronto. Very good friend, Sam Hall. Pappy's Products, Pappy something. He sells a whole bunch of really interesting products. Get to know him. Pappy, it's Pappy something. Pappy Foods, Pappy something. So I got that far, Sam. So thank you. Oh, yeah. This is true, Ashif. Karma catches up. Yeah, eventually it will catch up. So glad that you're here. And I invite you to try these things on. Now, I've been doing this work we're going to go till 10:45, and I want you to ask any questions, anything that's confusing to you, and also any insights you get. Drop them in the comments, because I'll come back later this afternoon and respond. And I may ask you some questions today. So, look who's here. This is so good. And you're probably wondering why I'm taking my time. I'm not in a rush. I know what I have to teach you, and I know it's more than just entertainment here. I'm actually going to wind up the introduction so that you can step into these principles and you will know. You won't know the moment and in which chapter you're going to get all this. You will have many light bulb moments, but as you move through Think and Grow Rich, and by the way, you don't have to read the whole thing. I'm teaching you everything. I've been doing it for 16 years, and effectively, the way I present it, it includes all the principles. So if you're reading and you want to read ahead or catch up, read the chapter that I'm telling you or that we're focusing on. So this is the introduction. If you want to read more, read it again, because you're going to find that the fourth principle of success is auto-suggestion, self-suggestion, and that's how we learn. So rather than spreading yourself thin and trying to read the whole book, study one chapter at a time. And here's our darling. Oh, there's Damien. Hi, Damien. You are a darling too. Thank you for being here. And here's Lisa Fevick. Hi, Lisa. Lisa is a registered dietitian focusing on women's menopause, but in general, really good for all of us at all times. And sometimes less is more. Yes, it gives time to process and really internalize the information. And this is true. And one of the problems, Damien, thank you for sharing that. One of the biggest problems my clients have come to me with over the last 15, 16 years, there are lots of different ones, but the one is the inability to focus. And you must be able to focus to study. And that's why in my programs, we do one goal every 12 weeks. Well, I can do many things. Yes, but there's a process. And that, through watching children and biomimicry, trial and error, and study, I now have a checklist that was never anywhere. So they're the 12 principles or laws of achievement. And you learn that with me. You'll see that I've got a 3-hour workshop coming up the first week of December. And I give you all of that because it's transformational. But I give it to everybody. I'm in the place now. Everything seems to be a labor of love because I love doing this. So sit back, get your coffee, your water, strap yourself in. Tanique, oh, so glad you're here. Look at Tanique Easy is here. She has a lovely audio room on Tuesdays. I can't remember the time right now, but yes, so we got a lovely group here. Remember, ask questions. I may not see all the comments. We've discovered, those of us who are using StreamYard, and I cannot look at LinkedIn at your comments and do this, right? And stay focused, which is concentration, right? I can't distract myself, but what I can tell you is I will go back and I will respond. So if I don't mention this or answer your question or stream it up on the screen, it's not intentional. It's just I'm working with what they're feeding through into this studio. So I'm sure you understand that. Okay. Ready? Are we ready? Let's go. Time to learn. All right. So I'm going to get myself, let's see. I think I can do this. Yes. All right. So 3 weeks ago, we began this 12-week series, and we began with the first lesson. This is a little out of order in the book, but it's fine. The next one is typically first. It doesn't matter because I can bring them together. There's 3 stories. You've heard of this one, 3 Feet from Gold. In fact, there is a book written that extrapolates on the idea. It isn't actually exactly the way Napoleon Hill did it. I think they took a little artistic license, but the message is there. And the story goes, this is about 1850s. Remember, this book was written 100 years ago, 1937, I think it published. And in the 1850s, the story goes that it was gold rush time in the United States and in Colorado, also California, but we're talking about this gentleman that you'll get to know as R.U. Darby. Now, R.U. Darby lived on the East Coast, and he got the gold rush fever. And this was our first one, so I'll do this very briefly. Let me just say hello briefly to the man from Calgary. Hello, Aaron. So glad you're here. Right on time. Perfect. Hope you have your coffee. Okay. So in 1850, this guy, R.U. Darby, who, by the way, became one of the best life insurance salesmen, selling over $1 million, one of the very few of life insurance every year as a result of the lessons I'm telling you now. So be listening in your own life for the lesson, okay? Because you probably have an inkling about what it is. All right. So out to Colorado he goes. He has a certain amount of equipment. He's doing the mining, and lo and behold, he discovers a vein of gold. So it looks pretty good, right? Everything he knows is what he brings to the smelter is like, this looks like a really good claim. So he hides the claim because there were people jumping claims, and like it was fever. It's like political fever we have now in the United States. Anyway, it was about gold. Well, it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Anyway, so he goes home to Virginia, and he spends time getting money from everybody to buy the equipment for this massive potential gold mine, which is hidden, right? And so he collects all this money from friends and family, goes back, buys all the equipment, and oh, he is loving it. He's bringing gold to the smelter, and pretty soon he'll have people paid back, right? That's his first intention, pay everybody back, and then the rest is gravy. So he's pretty happy. Right? So as he's working, one day the gold vein dries up. It just stops. There is no more gold. And they press on and continue, and they're very frustrated with this. And here comes the lessons, right? So after trying everything he knew to do with his crew, he finally gave up, and he found the site junk man. So there's a junk man that buys and sells and takes care of the miners. And he sold all that equipment for a couple $100 to the junk man and went home with his head hanging down. And years later, he did pay them back. So don't worry about his friends and family. He was a man of integrity. But here's the lesson. So the junk man went to the geologist. He sought expert advice. You see, R.U. Darby didn't do that. How often do we not seek expert advice, but we're just left to our own devices and we give up? So the geologist said, oh, well, the person who owned this mine, and the junk man said, that's me now. He said, well, you're only 3 feet from gold. The other guy didn't know about fault lines. And really 3 feet was all it took. The junk man, it was the richest claim. It truly ended up being that. That was a lesson for R.U. Darby. Okay. And then the one we're going to do today also is the third lesson. But now I want to go on to the next one. And if you have any questions, ask. Any clarifications if I've gotten off kilter here. So the lesson here is seek expert advice, and specialized knowledge is one of the principles down the road. So what you'll find is once you know these principles, they show up everywhere. It's just like the universal laws. It isn't just the law of attraction. That's a subset of the law of vibration, and there are 7 of them, right? So when you know about all 7 of them, you realize, oh, I've been worrying about a lot of things that I didn't have to. The universe already took care of it. That's why we continue learning. Make it a little easier, but that's not what R.U. Darby did. He gave up. And quitting is the opposite of decision in many ways. So he made that decision. And now let's go on. Okay, so he was close, but he didn't seek expert advice. Okay, that was the lesson there. Okay, now the very first lesson in the introduction is about the story of Edwin Barnes. I just got him out of order, but I'll be able to get him back in order. Okay, so this is like the first one. And this guy, Edwin Barnes, lived a good distance from Thomas Edison. And again, this is about 100, 120 years ago. And he made up his mind. His idea was that he was going to go into business with Thomas Edison. He wasn't going to go work for him. He was going to be his partner. That was his dream. He didn't have a penny to his name. He didn't know Edison or anybody who knew Edison. So right there, most of us would have given up, right? We couldn't afford to get there, and we didn't know the man. Oh, but not for Edwin Barnes, because that's all he thought about. We don't know what his wife said, like, Edwin, if you leave to go see Thomas Edison, don't come home. We have no idea what circumstances were going on behind him. He didn't have any money, so he hopped a freight car, which is called riding blind baggage back then, to go to Edison. And he showed up on Edison's front doorstep, just like this. Now, if you had someone like this come to your door and say, I'm going to be your partner, because all the way on the ride, what Barnes said to himself was, I will be Edison's partner. I am going to be his partner. He didn't say, well, I hope I will, and I'm going to try. He was insistent. This was his dream. He was going to die for this dream. And I will tell you that people that have really big dreams that they fulfill, they're a little bit off the rocker, like me. They're a little obsessed. And so we don't know what kind of life Edison's wife had. I mean, 10,000 tries for the incandescent bulb? Come on, how many women would put up with that? Of course, it is 100 years ago. We didn't have as many choices. That's for sure. Edison hired him. Now, would you do that if somebody who showed up at your door was a little belligerent and maybe smelled and looked pretty bad? No, you probably give him some food and say, go on your way. But no, Edison used his intuition. He saw something in Barnes's eyes that he recognized from himself. He had a well-developed sense of intuition. So he was able to look for the good and the faith rather than to be overwhelmed like most of us by the fear. Remember, what we're moving from is from a mindset of primarily fear. We've all got it, right? Into different degrees, but we want to have faith as our major way of thinking, not fear. And everybody has these fears. So this work allows you to build faith and to disprove the old fears, which are true. This is the complexity of the human being and conscious awareness, right? You didn't think that the universe was just going to give us all our riches and gold. No, gave us conscious awareness so we could figure this stuff out. And that's what I've been doing, right, for the last 16 years, figuring out what in the world do children do that has them hell-bent in the middle of the year on getting a bicycle seat at Christmas, and that's all they want. That's all they think about. They saw in a magazine, they rip it out and pin it on their wall. They dream and visualize of riding with their friends with this big yellow banana bicycle seat. How cool are they going to be? That is the answer to how you manifest. But children have no clue what they're doing. And they also don't have the fears to the extent we do. So we're learning the process, right? When you work with me, you get the process, but you're also going to get the principles of success and the universal laws. And let me just check the time. Oh, we're doing good. Let me see if we have any question. Oh, here's somebody. Look at this. Okay, Matt is a hatter. Yeah, well, if you know Aaron and some of the videos that he and the cinema that he creates, you might think he's a little obsessed. I'm not saying obsession is a bad thing. I'm saying it may be difficult to understand, but let me tell you, the larger the goal you're going for, before you get it, you have to be a vibrational match for it. The universe will look out for you. So if you have this immense goal, like really big philanthropic thing that you want to do, you got to do it in increments, right? It's not going to just boom happen. But here's the thing. You are not a match yet, a vibrational match to the thing you want until you can do it and enjoy it. So the universe will hold back because one of those universal laws is the law of gender, or gestation that says all seeds take time to grow. So you have to learn the things. It's like people who win the lottery. It's a disaster, isn't it? In almost every case. But when you begin to do something, let's just say in 12-week increments or 24-week increments to reach this large philanthropic goal, every step you take, you're going to learn to solve problems and you will become a match to the amount of money you generate. And then when you move to the next level, in order for you to move, let's say, from 50 to 75,000, I don't know, right? Then you're going to have issues and learn how to manage that much money and solve the problems required. And you can do that to 6 and 7 figures. So the idea is whatever the goal is, if the universe deems it as huge, and you may not realize it, like that happened with me. I didn't know when I wrote the outline for my book that came out this summer that it was big. It was just a vent. It was a visualizing vent for me as I was driving. And so I got in my mind and began playing. And as soon as I parked, I would go jot down the outline. Didn't tell the story, but just the things that I had seen as I was driving in my mind's eye, kind of like what children do, without realizing what I was doing. I was just doing it. That's one of our natural gifts, is imagination and intuition, which connects us to the universe. So then there was like a 20-year period of hibernation, and I didn't think about it much. But just like the miracle of the Chinese bamboo, if you've not seen this, you've got to look it up. So it's a story about the Chinese farmer who knew and had heard about that bamboo will grow 90 feet in 6 weeks. And he saw it as a way to perpetually feed his family, generations to come. But here was the snag. The bamboo takes 5 years to sprout. So think about, while everybody was laughing at him, and he still had a side garden, right? Otherwise, people would have starved in his family. And pretty soon, watering the spots where he had planted the bamboo was a habit. And he was doing this for 5 years. But alas, everybody was laughing. And one day he came out and the bamboo, all the spots had sprouted. And within 6 weeks, the bamboo grew 90 feet, which dispelled all the fear of everybody. So effectively what he did was he went from fear to faith. Well, those people did, because then they all started planting their own bamboo. Oops, we're almost at 9:27. So back to him. So let me tell you what happened to this guy, Edwin Barnes, and then we'll get into today's story. Any questions? Integrity, one of your core values. Yes, I totally agree. Although I never actually achieve it 100%. I don't think anybody does. It's an aspiration. It's something that we think of. It's part of our character. Let's see what Ashif says here. True intention from within can have essences of obsession. They do. They're obsessed about the banana seed. That's the key. That's the one sound idea is all you need. They knew it. Let's just see what Aaron says, and then we'll go. I'll finish up on the story. My plan to become authentic knight of mental health through the United Kingdom application process, just like Sir Richard Branson and so many more. All ideas are created twice, Mr. Gibson. The minute you got that idea, it was already yours. You see, this spiritual seed of thought energy is duplicated the minute you get the idea. Now your job is to think about it and visualize already having it. Not in the audience, Mr. Gibson, looking at yourself on the stage and people applauding, and you on the stage from the audience, you see this medal awarded to you. No, no, no. You are on stage on your knee, and the floor is hard. And that particular knee that you chose to get down on is not your best knee. So you become aware of your knee. And then you feel the king or the queen or whoever it is that's bestowing this upon you. By the way, Richard Branson is on the stage as a former recipient, just so you know. He's right there with you. He's got you. And then you feel their hands on your shoulders and you start to get chills. Now, what's happening with you right now? You are in the future, in the present, and you're driving the vibration of desire to its epitome. This is the velocity with which you will receive that award. And it's a huge one. Therefore, do not give up. You must be a match so that you can get up there and enjoy it. You don't want to get up there and be nervous and forget everything that happened. You want to step into this huge dream. And by declaring it here, what you've done is you've already been causing the matter. It's already on its way. I just have to tell you, you just don't know when. If this is what you want more than anything else, this is your large philanthropic move. You will do other things on the way. Absolutely. You will achieve other things that will make you a match when it arrives. Okay, so I didn't mean to go off on the tangent, but you are. It's so important that you understand about this one sound idea. So, long story short, Edwin Barnes actually does go to work for Edison to begin with in a menial position, and he sat there for 5 years before his opportunity came. Now, how long would you sit somewhere for 5 years? You've done it, but you got to want it badly. So what was happening was a couple things. Edison had a crew of salespeople, and so they were the ones that were selling. They were effectively in collaboration with Edison. And so they were making all the money. And Barnes was just sitting at the bench listening. But what did he do every day? This is what Aaron will do. This is what I did. And this is what you have done. And this is what children do. You will visualize it every day as though it's already so. Not someday, maybe, but I will and I am. And you will feel so good because every time you resurrect the visual image of you on stage, Aaron, on that bad knee, I don't even know if you have a bad knee, right? Every time you do it, it will, what comes with the memory is the vibration. And mind is an activity. It's a cellular activity. It affects, and there's lots of science on this, that mind and brain are not the same. They are connected, but mind is what controls your body. So if you're feeling really great and you resurrect these memories, you get goosebumps, which proves to you, and the science which shows that when you're excited and happy, which is your highest natural vibration, all the proteins move in tandem. So you got a spring in your step, but the reverse is true. Remember that we're so fearful. It's really our default. But this work will help you stop and say, okay, wait a minute. The law of polarity says that for every bad, there's a good. Why am I looking for the bad? That's another lesson, right? But you can teach yourself to look for the good in people. And that's where I am now. I've been doing this for years. When I see you, I see nothing bad about you. I don't even look for it. I already know who you are for me. And it takes a little time. So he visualized for 5 years, and all of a sudden, Edison came up with the Ediphone, which was the precursor to the dictaphone, of which I used to use all the time, transcribing. But all the salesmen poo-pooed it. And they said, this is a ridiculous idea of all your inventions, Thomas. This is not going to make it, right? The salesmen turned their back on him. And of course, since top of mind was Barnes going into business with Edison, there was his opportunity. Every Ediphone in the United States was inscribed with manufactured by Edison, installed by Barnes. He became, but he had to wait. Notice that he had to wait until the universe thought he had done enough visualization. The universe actually gives up. Once you've filled that cup to where you can really enjoy it, then the universe will give up. All right. All right, let's see. I'm at my appointment and this is getting so good. Oh, well, just bring them in. I'll send them an invoice. Okay, glad you're here. All right, so let's go on because here's today's lesson. This is the third one. And this is the one that ties Are You Darby to this one. Okay, and this is called a 50-cent lesson in persistence. These are the 3 stories and the lessons that you want to plant your dream with. And then next week we'll do desire, which is the first principle of success, the starting point of all achievement, but you will already know these. You get the concepts. Don't give up, right? Do not give up. Seek expert advice. Make your dream so big that no fear, no boredom. I mean, think about Barnes, how long he had to sit there for 5 years. You've done it. I've done it. And the fan is on, so my hair is, okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, 100 years ago, and Are You Darby's uncle? So this is the guy from the gold mine who now his uncle is a farmer and has a big farm and a mill. And he's visiting his uncle, Are You Darby is, and he's observing this particular story. Again, it's 100 years ago, and I'm going to use words that I normally would not use because it's how Napoleon Hill explained it. This is not the way I would do it now, but this was how it was back then. So he and his uncle are in the mill, and this little colored girl comes to the door and stands there quietly. Now, look, she is probably 6. I'm thinking she's 5 or 6. Okay. And so his uncle, who's kind of a gruff guy, he looks up and sees her. What is it? She didn't move. And she said, my mammy said, give me 50 cents. And he just looked at her. Go on, get home, he said. Yes, sir, she said, and didn't move. She just stood there, and so he went back to talking to his nephew, Are You Darby, and they were doing the milling, and then he noticed that she was still standing there. And he started to get annoyed, and he started to walk toward her, and he said, I told you to get out of here. Go on and get out of here. Yes, sir, she said. My mammy said, give me 50 cents. Didn't move. Well, now he's pissed. So he picks up a barrel stave, which is the metal rim, I guess, that goes, not a guess, the metal rim that goes around a barrel. And he lifts it up. And of course, you and I both know that he could have killed her right then because, you know, tenant farmers' little girls did not go up against the farmer, the white man, right? You just didn't do that. So he is approaching her with the barrel stave. Now she's looking at him. She hasn't moved. And he's approaching her with the barrel stave. And she took a step toward him. And at the top of her lungs, she said, my mammy said, give me 50 cents. Stopped him. He put the barrel stave down, reached in his pocket, and gave her the 50 cents. She backed out very slowly, never taking her eyes off of him. So Are You Darby is watching this go on, right? And his uncle sat down for about 10 minutes, completely confused. How did this little girl do this? Bring him to his knees. What happened? And that's what all the principles are about. What is it that she knew that she was able to do to actually bring this man and to knuckle under, right, with a little colored girl from 100 years ago, a tenant farmer? Okay. Oh, it's your favorite story? Yes, it is a good one. Again, we're looking at the children. What's the lesson here? So tell me what the lessons are. You've heard, okay, so the first one, just briefly, so you can drop this in the comments. Where in the heck did my mouse go? Goodness gracious. Here we go. Okay, so let me go back here. So the first story was 3 Feet from Gold, where R.U. Darby, borrowed all kinds of money, found the gold, and all of a sudden the gold dried up, right? What didn't he do? Well, he did give up, and he didn't know about seeking specialized knowledge. So he sells it off to the junk man who knew to go to the geologist who said, oh, false. So that's the first one. The second one is Barnes, which shows up first, that he had a dream. He used the words, I am, I will. He had nothing going for him. He had no money, didn't know Edison, but did it anyway. Did it afraid. Did it because that's what he wanted more than anything in life. And then he sat there for 5 years. Come on. A little obsessive, don't you think? I mean, I don't know what happened to his wife because that train ride was quite a bit. Okay, was quite a long. So I don't know. Maybe he never saw his wife again. Maybe she meant it. I don't know. Okay. And then the 50-cent lesson in persistence. What is it, do you think, that little girl evoked within herself? So please put an answer in the comments. What do you think it was? How was she able to not only stand there, but step into him as he's coming after her with a barrel stave? We're going to get into desire next week, the starting point of all achievement. So please put that into the comments. What do you think it was? What was it that had her disarm this mean old man? And R.U. Darby, the lesson he got was, anytime, he said, and I'll finish up this piece of it, anytime he would be selling insurance and someone would say no, he remembered looking at that little girl. He visualized her and how she made the sale. And he was one of the very few that did over $1 million worth of insurance because he did not take no for an answer. Let's see what Sam says. You got to have it no matter what. It's burning. It's burning. It's all you can think about. It's obsessive, but it's also fun. Okay. So it just, the way you feel when you think about it is the highest vibration. It's love, it's kindness, it's generosity. It's even sex. I just had to drop that in there. So let's just say Adrian says determination. Absolutely. Persistence. Determination and persistence. Excellent. When you are determined. And there's only one thing that you're focused on. Oh, that was a shameless promo. Jasmine, thank you very much. Actually, that's out of etiquette, but because it's you, my sweet friend, and Jasmine is on the team that's working with the relaunching of my book. So, all right. Let's see what else you say. Is there anything else coming in here? Got a will, have it no matter what, Sam said. All right. So let's go on. We've got a few minutes left. So bear with me. Thank you for being here this long. Hope you got the lessons. If you want to read for next week, read Desire or reread the introduction. Don't go any further. Okay. So let me just make this big. And let's see if I can get it to work. Okay, so everyone, a little bit about this. The next Saturday and Sunday evenings, 5 p.m. Eastern live stream is the relaunch. They're 1-hour conversations with Jasmine and Cyrus and Paulette Hallam, all about the lessons in this book. This book took 25 years to write, and what I didn't know, all the lessons were in there, because that's just who I am. And so I've actually had to have somebody else read it thoroughly to tell me what the lessons are. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. So in the comments, let me put this up here. I did make a little banner here for you so you could see this. There's a couple things happening here. Yeah, here we go. Tomorrow night, 5 p.m., and I'll have the link for you. And then for those of you who want a condensed killer 3-hour transformation session on Thursday, December 5th, from 12 to 3 live on Zoom, you will walk away with all of your 2025 goals written and in priority order, because I'm going to stuff you full of so much good stuff that you will connect with the universe. All your fears will disappear. So I just want you to be aware of that. So this is tomorrow night. And then we have, oh shoot, I didn't want to do that. Well, goodness gracious. There we go. This is the goal setting intensive, and I will put that link also in the comments. Okay, so let me just get rid of this. And we are at the place of completion exactly at 10:45. It's the first time that I've ended exactly on time. But for those of you who've been with me, you know I have a hard time getting this darn thing to end. Okay, so Aaron says, yeah, come to the relaunch. It's an hour. It'll be recorded, but it is so much fun. There's like rapid fire questions and all sorts of really, really cool things happening. Oh, thank you for this. Okay, your biggest takeaway: perspective, integrity, and determination. They are great. So determination matches to the 8th principle of success: persistence. So there's a clue right there. There are 13 of them, and one of them is persistence. And next week, we're going to do desire, which is the first principle of success, which you'll build on this. So feel free to read, right, the desire, or go back to the introduction. I would avoid going any further, or don't read at all. You can also go to my page and watch it again. They're all there. All these trainings are there. So you would want to be disciplined enough to maybe watch 1 a week or 2 a week and take yourself through it. And every time it's different. So always remember and never forget. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark, because at the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet, simple song of the lark. Listen for the lark. And I'll see you people all over LinkedIn. I'm going to do my best to end the stream. I appreciate you all being here. Have a beautiful day and weekend. And oh, by the way, I think there's a Soul Man Live at 8 p.m. tonight, live. Go check out Aaron Gibson's events. And with that, have a beautiful weekend.